This is Adam Watson, and you're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. Tonight, I'm interviewing my very good friend, artist, co-collaborator, all that good shit, Tony Morgan. Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right. We're talking tonight about the Kickstarter that we're about to launch. I don't know when I'm going to have this up exactly, so it might have already launched by the time this airs, but probably not. I'll probably get it up before then. So we're launching it on October 31st, which is what day?
Good question.
Halloween.
Oh, no. I thought you know which day of the week. Am I supposed to know that?
No, actually, I don't know which day of the week it is either. It's a Thursday? Okay, so we're launching on a Thursday.
Okay.
Which they say statistically to launch our Kickstarters on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I think this should launch on Halloween.
Halloween's good.
So, talk a little bit about what the project's about.
You're like, go. So the project started, I don't even remember how many.
2008.
Oh, I'm glad somebody's...
Or no, 2008 is when we met. So 2010 is when we did Chronicles Von Helsing #1. It would have been Free Comic Book Day of 2011 when you told me about this idea.
Okay. I know it was at least 8 years ago, just based on where I lived.
Yeah, you lived in Ridgefield at the time, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, the project, it's a painted book. It's 32 pages probably. It's not completed yet, but basically I had done the artwork for the first Van Helsing, and so kind of wanted to revisit that character, like Jeannie Marie as a young person, even younger person, and do a story because I like westerns and also monsters. So,
right.
You know, but focus more on kind of the western vibe of it. And it's basically just about her and her family and a bunch of shapeshifters. It's not vampires per se, but they're pretty monstery.
Right. We'll just say that they're a type of vampire just to fit with the Chronicles Von Helsing theme.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, good cowboy style monster fighting.
Right. What is it about Jeannie that you love so much? Because if there's any character from these books I think you might actually love more than I do, it's Jeannie.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting because when you first laid out the whole chronology and everything. You're like, well, she kind of shows up in this story, but then in the rest of it, she's the grandma.
Right, and then I jump back and forth with her being younger at times. Like, it does show Jeannie in the Sally special. Do you have a copy of the Sally special?
I don't.
Okay, I got to get you one of those.
Okay.
In the Sally special, Sally's parents are in the woods, and it starts out with them just being injured. And okay. Sally is physically like a year old at that point, so I'm going to say she's probably supposed to be about 12 in the story because her aging is weird.
Right.
And her parents are being murdered in front of her. And spoiler, but that's been out for a few years now. So
right.
It's Jeannie who's killing him. She's pregnant at the time. So that story takes place right after issue #1.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's just like a little 7-page thing that I did as a mini comic a few years ago to have a $2 book at shows. I guess I just felt like I needed a $2 book. So.
Right.
And that's the one that has, that's the only Chronicles that you didn't do the cover for. I used Alan's Scratchboard of Mr. Muffins for that one.
Oh, right. Okay, I remember Alan doing some stuff.
Yeah, he did a Scratchboard of Mr. Muffins, and that's the cover for that one. And then Joel did the interior artwork on that one, the artist from Ghost Assassin.
Okay.
So yeah, Jeannie kind of shows up here and there, but I hadn't done anything with her previous to Chronicles #1.
Yeah.
When we first did the first issue.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like kind of doing some development on that and working with the character, and also like doing the whole thing in the snow. Like the whole first one takes place in the snow, and which I relate to for some weird reason. I don't know. 20 plus years in Alaska, but yeah, I kind of wanted. I had fun with that, and I was like, oh, it'd be fun to go back and do that. And I've been wanting to do a painted comic. So yeah, it's all like acrylic and ink, and yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, all the painting in this is really muted, right?
It is, and it started out. It was pretty monochrome, and then but if you look at the pages, they start changing. Like it starts off sort of reds, and then oranges, and then blues. It's all fairly monochrome, but it shifts through the story. So it kind of, as you go through different, it's sort of a way of telling time or different times and locations. That, and then there's like when the action starts, there's more red and stuff like that. So yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. That's actually something I hadn't noticed yet.
Like mood. Coloring those.
So as things get more intense, start using
a little bit
brighter, hotter colors.
Yeah, there's kind of there's all the nighttime stuff where you get more blues and stuff.
Right.
And then, you get to some of the, like, red starts showing up.
Right.
And then you get into, the really hot colors and stuff. So, yeah. That was kind of just sort of ended up that way. A lot of the stuff I do, I don't necessarily plan out. It just kind of works out a certain way.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun. And so then I just run with it.
So let's go back to some of the other stuff you did.
Okay.
So when I first met you, you had just published Chicken Leg Bone Boy, right?
Yes. I think we met at the first show that I ever did.
Yeah, yep. Where you had the luck of being right next to Brian Michael Bendis.
Oh, I was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and his line was kind of engulfing you. And I'm like, I want to get to that guy because he's got what I didn't know at the time, but I know now was Mr. Freaky.
Oh, yeah.
On a holder for a painting that you had made. And I was like, I want to see that guy's shit because he's the most interesting to me at Stumptown. But then I couldn't hear a word you were saying at that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
because it was so loud, or I was
because there were so many people standing around there from Brian Michael Bendis's.
Yeah, there was a pretty good crowd there for sure.
Yeah. It was impossible to hear.
I met Lucas at that show too, and I remember him standing in line. Like I saw him standing in line and then met him later. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Stumptown was a good show for meeting people.
Yeah. Well, it was a pretty small show at that point.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't like the super tiny, because I had gone to it a year or two before. And it was really small.
Yeah, when it was at the church.
Was that when it was?
Yeah, it was at the church, and then it moved to the Doubletree. And when it was at the church, it was like 20 or so tables, something like that.
It was like Olympia Comic-Con size.
Yeah. Olympia used to be a fun show, though.
Yeah. Yeah, Olympia was always good.
Yeah, it's not now, but it used to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, the guy who took it over, he's not advertising it the same way they used to.
Okay.
So, they used to actually go around to all the bike shops and goth clubs and all that, and you'd get a really cross selection of people there.
Yeah, that's what I really liked about it. It was kind of...
Yeah.
It wasn't just your standard comic crowd. You got people from...
Right.
Kind of all over that... Yeah.
And holding it in the nightclub was cool. But now it's back in the community center in Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked where the cross selection of people were the last time I did it, the guy's like, well, I don't feel comfortable around those people like she did. So I'm not going to go advertise to them.
Jeez.
Well, I'm not going to do the show again then.
Yeah.
But,
I always found that I sold best to the people that weren't typical comic readers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Same here.
You kind of get the... I'm here for the oddballs.
Right.
One of us. Yeah.
Well, we're not your typical comic fans either.
Yeah.
So we kind of don't look like everybody else does. So
that's true.
You have some hobbies that are definitely outside the norm for comic creators, and a job that's outside of the norm for a comic creator. So what do you do for a living?
So, how much time do you have here? Mostly build motorcycles and make art. Mm-hmm. So, we've got the shop in the front and the studio in the back. We do screen prints. I do some illustration and, signs. I do metal fabrication work.
Yeah.
And I was doing just regular, like bike repair stuff, like maintenance, fix it kind of stuff. I'm doing less of that and just try to focus on building bikes and selling them. But yeah, both things keep me happy. They're both things I really like to do. So,
and both things are quite different for people who are into comics, really and truly. So that's one thing I found. Like,
yeah,
everybody that hangs out with my dad is into bikes and all that. And then I got the comic crowd, and they're kind of afraid of each other in a weird way. A lot of times it seems like.
Comic book people can be kind of scary. I don't know.
Yeah, and they think that the people who write are scary, you know. So years ago, Nick Larson, you know who he is, right?
I know, yeah.
Yeah, he was with me at a tattoo shop. I don't know either, but he was at a tattoo shop with me, and one of my uncles was there. He's just chatting him up. He's like 70 years old. Just wants to tell stories, right? Going on and on and on. Nick was afraid to leave the conversation despite the fact that he had to get to work because he thought he might kill him. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Just a normal guy, but okay. Well, I mean, kind of a normal guy. But, yeah, so what's your favorite type of artwork to do?
Geez, I don't know. I enjoy painting, but I've been doing a lot of scratchboard, which is, you probably know, it's basically ink, but you work backwards.
Right.
So you have an ink panel, and then you draw in your whites. I like doing that mostly because it lets me kind of focus. And a lot of times when I'm sketching, I'll be really loose, but then when I do the scratchboard, it will tighten, because you have to work slowly. You can't do...
Right.
Well, you don't have to, but for me to get the effect that I want, I have to slow down. And so
I know you use scratchboard for throwing bones. Was that the first time you done any scratchboard work?
That's the first published stuff. It's not the first time I did it. I mean, the first time I did it was probably in high school, but yeah, I do that for most of the screen prints. That's what we start with, is scratchboard, and then yeah.
Are you going to do any comics at any point that use scratchboard?
Oh, geez, that's a lot of work. I mean, painting's a lot of work, but maybe. There's been a couple, I'm trying to remember who did it. There's been a couple, like, graphic novels that people have done that were scratchboard that were pretty amazing, but yeah, it's... And there was a guy that used
Bernie Wrightson did Frankenstein using scratchboard.
Did he do scratchboard?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if there's any pen and ink in there at all. There might be.
I wonder if he used there's a certain kind that's white, and so you can work both ways. You can draw with a pen, but then you can also scratch back. Because I have those. I have the Frankenstein. It's gorgeous, but
yeah, when you can really tell when you look at like the beakers and stuff like that. Okay. If you look carefully at them, and it kind of depends on what size you're looking at it too, because it gets lost in the reproduction if it's at a smaller size. They released a big edition of that, I think, last year.
Oh,
and
really?
you can tell a lot more, when you look at like the glass beakers and all that kind of stuff, you can see the scratch marks.
Oh, cool.
In it when you look closely enough.
I'll have to see if I can find that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I've got the regular one that came out in, I don't know, in the 80s or something like that, but 80s or 90s.
I think it was IDW released like one of those big oversized, it might be an artist edition, I'm not sure what it is exactly, but it's like an 11 by 17. So nice. It's a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too many people do that these days. I know it's what Alan's been working on forever.
Yeah, it's funny. Alan's the only other person I know personally that does scratchboard. But yeah.
Yeah, and he was inspired by the Bernie Wrightson work. I know that.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, what else are you working on right now, comic-wise? Anything, or is this just?
I haven't done any comics in a long time. I think this is pretty much the last project, and then. Yeah, kind of. Life's weird sometimes. You kind of go sideways.
Yes.
Follow these tangents, and so I kind of. I'm trying to think if there's anything I've done. I don't think I've done any comics though. Since I worked on this for a while after I did the main story, and then I did some other parts of it that won't be included.
You started on this one before doing the cover for Chronicles #5. I know that.
Yeah. No, I remember working on this probably before I did #4 too. I can't remember.
#4, I know we had talked about it before then. Yeah, #4 was kind of funny in a way because you had done the painting for it just a few days before we did Emerald City, where you and I had tabled with Ben Kreger. And
right.
I managed to turn it into a poster within a couple of days.
I remember that.
And it was actually the #1 seller at that show. So people couldn't get enough of it there. And then that cover has now been kind of lampooned by Darkslinger. because we're doing a series of trading card images that are parodies of pre-existing covers.
Okay.
And Pat has done one of that has the Mini Slingers version of Zeke with his arm in the air with Sally hanging from it like a little shark that's been caught.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty funny. And yeah, I was thinking we might do for the Kickstarter some trading cards. Maybe include that one, like a 5-pack that has like the normal Chronicles covers, and then
Oh yeah.
have that as one of the images too. Just because it's fun, why not?
Yeah, if I had done that one for Emerald City, I had this stuff with me, so I was at least partway into this.
Okay.
At that
Yeah.
point, so yeah.
Yeah, that was a hectic time. I think your pipe broke in your house or something when we were there, right?
Oh, when we were at...
Yeah, when we were at... I remember you having some sort of housing.
Oh, if it was Ridgefield, it was probably our roof was leaking.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. It might have been something like
A
that.
super amazing landlord who refused to fix it for like a month. We're like,
Oh.
no, it's literally raining on our bed. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, we just fixed a roofing problem in our house. So
Yeah.
I know that one. It's actually why the podcast was on hiatus for so long. Because you can't do a podcast and tear apart a roof. Well, you kind of can, but it wouldn't sound right. So.
Yeah.
So last year you were doing a lot of Little Vikings. Have you still been doing anything with those guys?
Yeah, still doing the Tiny Vikings. We're going to do another batch of them. I think there'll be another 6 that should be out before Christmas.
Uh-huh.
Knock on wood.
I think that you should do a comic with them, by the way.
That would be fun. A friend of mine suggested doing a board game.
A board game?
But yeah, of course then I have to do little 3D versions, which I'm totally into. So, but yeah, I know well, because I did those, and did you see the Tiny Bikers series?
I think I saw 2 of those. How many of those did you do?
There's 6.
6? Okay.
So it's Tiny Vikings, but with motorcycles. Like I refer to him, he's like, oh, tiny bikes with bikes. All right. Not going to use that, but yeah, both of those I keep thinking, I'm like, man, I want to turn this into some kind of book or some kind of deal, but yeah. Been doing those 2 series, and then do we have another series? Is that it? Oh, I have some other stuff that works, but we haven't released them yet. So
Okay.
some other more
So,
monstery kind of stuff.
Still under wrap sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure when they're going to come out, so I don't want to. Yeah,
Yeah. That makes
other
complete
stuff,
utter
but
sense.
yeah, I've been doing some kind of little series type deals with those. So yeah.
So, I keep hearing at shows that your artwork is reminiscent of, is it Madcap? Who did the Metallica covers? Is that his name?
Oh, Pusshead?
Pusshead. Why do I keep thinking Madcap? Where the hell do I get that
Sure.
from?
The first cover was absolutely influenced by him.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I grew up with all the skateboard art. It was like Pusshead and VJC, who did all the Pal Peralta skateboards.
Uh-huh.
Pusshead did the Metallica stuff, but he also did a bunch of stuff for Zorlak and a bunch of stuff for Thrasher magazine.
Okay, Thrasher, I know. Zorlak, I don't.
Zorlak, they actually had, I'm trying to remember who owned that company. I know Tony Alva skated for him, and he was one of the old school, like, one of the Dogtown guys.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, it's kind of the Dogtown sort of a vibe. But yeah, they actually did a series of Metallica skateboards, sort of like released. And
Okay.
they had one that was like this like kind of pirate thing. I had this. I wrote away when I was in high school. I wrote away. They had a little thing in Thrasher magazine, and you could send them like $5 or something. You get this giant poster, and it's huge. It was like, I don't know, 3 feet tall or something. There's a giant skull with like an eyeball in his teeth, and like, yeah, I was like super into it. My mom hated it too. Yeah. Like,
Did
what
you
is it?
skate when you were younger?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I was in Alaska, so take that for what it's worth.
Is skating a big thing in Alaska?
Not well. I mean, no, there's not. It's snowy a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of.
That's why I was
also grew up
wondering.
in the mountains, so no. But I mean, my brother and I built ramps, and we'd go over to the elementary school and
Oh, okay.
a little piece of asphalt, and we'd go.
Where I grew up, a lot of
We weren't
people
good
carried
skaters,
around skateboards.
Yeah.
And they played a lot of hacky sack, but they didn't necessarily actually skate on the skateboards much.
Huh.
Because, it's mountains, all that kind of thing, too.
Right.
And they didn't want to go too fast, I guess. something like that. I'm not sure why they didn't, but they always just seem to be carrying them around. Never actually seem
We
to be
didn't
skating
skate
on
like kids around here. I see them like ripping past, going to the skate park and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't really like that. We pretty much had to like borrow the car or get somebody to drive us somewhere, or ride our bike somewhere and then go skate. But it wasn't like we could skate to anything.
Did you ever try the Back to the Future thing where you held onto the car while you were on the skateboard?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Although one time when I was in a wheelchair, I did hold on to a motorcycle. But
How recently was this?
like a couple years ago. I had my leg broken. Yeah. I was actually over at the skate park because I got this wheelchair at the swap meet.
Uh-huh.
So I wheeled over to the skate park, and my buddies showed up on their bikes, and we're like, let's go to the bar. So I'm like, here, I'll hang on. My buddy Aaron was following us. He's like, man, I thought the wheels were going to come off that thing.
How fast was it going?
Not super fast, but I mean, how fast do you really want to go in a wheelchair?
Not very fast.
Yeah. When we got there, I just took some bungee cords and tied it to his bike. People would walk in and give us like weird looks. It was pretty obvious like who the guy was in the wheelchair.
You should have
Still
filmed
a big
that.
cast. Yeah. But yeah.
That's pretty
My
great.
mom's not around, so I can do all kinds of stuff now.
Yeah, I hope she doesn't listen to this if she didn't already know about that.
Yeah, I'm 44. I think I'm probably in the clear on that.
You think so? But I don't know. My grandma recently died, but up until like a month before she died, she yelled at me for things still.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter that I was 39. It was still like, oh, grandma's yelling at me. I don't like that. So, on the other hand, I care less than my parents do. So maybe that's just a grandparent thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, speaking of Alaska, you've lived in some pretty interesting places.
Yes.
You lived in Antarctica for a while.
Yeah, that's probably the most interesting place. I mean, yes.
That is definitely the
weirdest
most
place.
interesting
Yeah.
place. Because how many people have actually spent any time in Antarctica?
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but
Probably not very many, though.
I think it's second to like people who have been in space
Mm-hmm.
than Antarctica. And then it's kind of like I don't know if it's somewhere in the like towards the top of the list like that.
Uh-huh.
Just because there's not a lot of, or at least South Pole.
So I have a weird question regarding that, though.
Oh,
I read a thing the other day that blackberries can grow in Antarctica. Did you ever see any when you were there?
blackberries?
Yeah. Apparently blackberry bushes are capable of growing there.
That's impressive. So I was stationed at the South Pole.
Uh-huh.
Like the main station is in McMurdo, and it's on the coast. And there's probably about 3,000 people there during the summer season.
Okay.
It's our winter, but their summer.
Uh-huh.
There's about 250 total
Okay.
at South Pole, and it's on 2 miles of ice.
Mm.
So nothing actually can grow there.
That makes sense.
Unless, yeah. However, we grew some stuff in the station. They grew like greens and stuff. They had a greenhouse, all that stuff. But
They kind of have to do that, don't they?
yeah, I mean, we have everything flown in,
Uh-huh.
but and you can get by without it. But it was experimental. They were trying to keep it
Oh,
going
okay.
so that
They doing it like hydroponically or what?
I think so. I wasn't super involved in that part
Okay.
of it, but yeah, they had a whole setup. But we get they'd fly in C-130s at least once a week, I think, and
Uh-huh.
they'd be bringing in supplies. So we always had fresh food and all that stuff. We actually ate really well down there,
Yeah.
remarkably well. I don't know how the people did in the winter, but with canned beans, but yeah, we had pretty good food.
So what inspired you to work there?
I had a friend that was going down on some kind of a research deal,
Uh-huh.
and he had sent out he was a friend of Elsa's. I don't know if I even knew him at the time, but he had sent out an email, kind of a last minute deal. They needed somebody to cook at Palmer Station, which is a super tiny. There's like 20 people there or something.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, because I'm super impulsive and not that smart, I was like, hey, I'll do it. Like, and it turned out they had somebody already that was like already on the list, and they're like, oh, well, so-and-so called in and they're going to go. But I was like, I didn't realize that you could go there. I thought you had to go on some kind of a research deal.
Uh-huh.
The people I knew of going down there were like scientists, which I am not. But then I was like, oh, well, they have to have support staff and all that stuff. So
Right.
when I went down, I went down doing construction, and we were finishing what was at the time the new station. This is 2005, 2006.
Okay.
So they had built a station. They had built one in the 50s, and then another one in the 70s, I believe, and then each one got progressively. It doesn't really snow there per se, but snow blows in at a pretty regular rate, so you get an accumulation every year of, I think it's about 5 inches.
Okay.
Which doesn't seem like a lot, but over a few decades.
When you add it up, yeah.
Yeah. So they built the new one, and the new station is pretty cool because it's built on, it's built like an airplane wing, so the wind sort of accelerates under it, and it keeps the snow from accumulating underneath it. Yeah, it's really cool. And it's built on piling, so they can actually adjust the height of it. But it's a massive thing. But yeah.
And that keeps it from getting buried, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
In theory, I mean, we'll see what happens, you know.
Yeah, another 20, 30 years. Who knows?
But it seemed pretty solid. Yeah, I just worked down there and just helped with setting like deep space telescopes and neutrino research and all kinds of weird stuff. So.
And how long were you there for?
Like 4 months, I think. So that's pretty much when everything gets done is that summer season. Because it's daylight all the time. So you just work 3 shifts and try to get everything done. Because then when the winter comes, they keep a skeleton crew there, but you can't do any of the major outdoor stuff. Because it just gets too cold. And
the part of Alaska you lived in did not have the whole night and day for long periods of
where
time,
I grew up, no. I mean, it would, like when we get home from school at like 4 o'clock or something, it would be dark. But so we had like an hour bus ride. So that was about as dark as it got. But then we did live up in the Arctic for a year, and then in Fairbanks after that. And I went for like 4 months without seeing the sun up there. So.
Oh wow!
But I was working on the night. I was the one night guy. There were like 10 people that lived in our town/truck stop, the northernmost truck stop in the world.
Oh yeah.
True story.
What does it do to you artistically when you live in these different sort of areas with these different sort of climates? Like, you've experienced more of a vast difference in climate than anybody I know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Growing up, it's cold and dark. It's like, what do you do? You're going to sit inside and draw.
I guess what I'm asking, though, is like, what conditions do you work best in? Does the rain inspire you more, or the snow?
I like the snow. I mean, it's kind of weird. I live in a place where it doesn't really snow, but
yeah.
The only thing I don't like about like living in some of those places is that the snow is there all the time. Like Alaska, you got a 9-month winter,
right?
Much. You know, it's like 9 months of snow and then break up and then some sort of basically our winter weather for a few months, and then although not this last summer, it's been getting a lot hotter up there, but yeah, I don't know. I like the kind of harsh climates and
yeah. And that's what you work best in usually?
Probably. When it's nice out, I have a lot harder time getting stuff done because it's... In Alaska, if it's nice out, you're like out building your house and doing all your...
Right.
You have to get everything done because you can. That's the only time you can. And so I still have that kind of thing when it's nice out. I'm like, oh, I need to be outside running around doing stuff. So, yeah. It's kind of nice when winter does kind of kick in. I'm like, oh, I can go in the studio and kind of... I feel more comfortable just focusing on stuff then.
Do you have to have any sort of conditions to create? Like with me, if I'm creating Principalities, for instance, which is about angels, so they fly, all that kind of stuff, I actually like to be in big open area. But if I'm writing Diary of a Dead Man, which is about death and loneliness, I like something claustrophobic. You have any sort of method creation like that?
Not, well, it kind of depends, I guess. Not for drawing. Like, I can draw, like, pretty much wherever. Drawing and painting. Although, I mean, a lot of it is just like I do it regularly, so it's some days you're on, some days you're off. But if you're always working, then you're gonna be there when you get the on days. Writing's a little bit different. Like, I kind of have to get off in my own weird headspace.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't have anything more specific than that, but just,
that's fine.
Yeah, it's more like a thing I have to get more kind of immersive and.
But on that train of thought, you have to deal with something at Comic-Cons that I don't.
What's that?
You draw in front of people. So when I go to cons, all I really have to do is talk. And, They come up, hey, are you the writer or the artist? Or are you just some guy standing here? You know, that kind of stuff. But
Right.
if they like your stuff, they might offer you money to draw for them, right?
Right.
But if they do that, then you have to actually sit there and draw with people walking around, looking at you, trying to look over your shoulder, you know. People like me coming up and taking photos while you're doing it.
You know,
how is it creating under those conditions?
It's funny. Like, I actually don't mind that, and I think it's just because, like, as a little kid, it was like I like to draw, and like, so I'm just used to drawing, and there were always people around when I was a kid. So I don't really have a problem with that. But it's funny because, like, if I write, like, I'm really weird about people reading stuff that I write. Like, I get really uncomfortable about it.
I don't like it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like I have to go.
I won't be in the same room when they're reading my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get super awkward about that, but not with
with the art.
Drawing. I'm kind of like.
Is it kind of like when you're in school and you're the kid who draws and everybody has to come around and see what you're drawing all the time? That's
kind of. I mean, that's the thing. I just always would be drawing on stuff, and people are like, "Oh, you're drawing something." And you're like, "Yep, I'm drawing something." You know, like you're just. Everybody knew you were just drawing on everything.
Some people it must be weird for, because you remember years ago when we got the Alex Nino commission for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when we did that, he only wanted to work on it in his hotel room that night.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, when he was at his table, he just, sat there and wanted to talk to people, but he didn't want to do even one line when people were watching it.
Oh,
so it must be like a really personal sort of experience for him, because he's like, yep, when I get back to my hotel room tonight, I'll work on that and I'll have it all done. I'm like, yeah, it's only like 6 hours. You sure? Like, because you're going to be sleeping and showering and stuff like that too. You sure you got time? Oh, I got time.
Huh.
Okay, well, I'll trust you.
That kind of makes sense a little bit, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, so for some people it must be that way, but for the most part, most artists that go to Comic-Con seems like they have to.
Yeah.
Draw the whole time just to keep people coming up too.
Well, and honestly, like when you're sitting at Comic-Con, sometimes it's so busy you're just like...
Right, you don't have time to do anything.
You don't have time to do stuff, but if there's any slow time, it's like, it's perfect. You're like, oh yeah, what about the sketchbook? And plus, like you say, then it...
Draws people in.
You're like, oh, that guy's doing something, I'll go check it out, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it never hurts to have those things that draw people in, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they get boring, because there's nothing worse than sitting in a boring con.
Yeah.
For 8 hours.
The slow ones can get a little brutal. Yeah.
Right. Remember when we did Raining Stars a few years ago at the Portland Columbia Boulevard?
Out by the...
Doug Jones was there.
Yeah, Doug Jones and
Ben Perkins kept going up to Doug Jones and telling him how many times he had watched him be painted as Abe Sapien on the Hellboy special features.
That was great. He went out and hugged everybody.
Yeah.
The huggiest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, he kissed me on the cheek and then slapped me. I've actually met him at a few shows now, and he's just as huggy at every single show.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a nice guy. But yeah, that show was brutal because it was 2 days with 10 people came through the doors.
It was not a well-attended show.
No.
Which is surprising because they had some fairly big names. Well,
yeah.
Megan Franich was the other one. She was in 30 Days a Night.
Yeah, and she's in Chronicles of Narnia as well.
Oh, okay. I don't know
if in both those.
Come out at that point. Maybe it had. Yeah.
She's not a big character in it. She's just one of the fawn people that are kind of walking around in the background. But I remember because I saw the press photo on her table for that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But yeah, they were there, and then 3 of the guys from Sons of Anarchy, one of which was, his first name's Michael, I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but he played Chucky in Sons of Anarchy. And he was great.
Chucky, Happy, and the Prospect dude.
Yeah, the great big huge guy.
Big dude, yeah.
Yeah, I asked him if he knew that I could kick his ass, and he looks down at me, he's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, you're 6'11". What the hell's wrong with you?
Mario Brothers stuff, yeah.
But yeah, the Chucky guy was great. I loved him.
Yeah, he was funny.
But yeah, that was such a brutal show. It was just if it hadn't been for the fact that all you guys were there and we were all hanging out and talking.
I did get this really great the little Harley model that I haven't put together, a little Springer. It's off the alley. Yeah. I still haven't finished it.
You got that at that show?
Yeah, that's where I got it. So, I have this thing about getting model kits and then taking years and years and years to
All right, so I'm probably going to be calling you and doing a few check-ins during the Kickstarter for the podcast.
Okay.
So just so you know.
Check-ins. What's?
I'll just be calling you and just say, hey, did you see where we're at today? Da, da, da. Whenever we do a podcast, we'll probably Robert and I will probably call you. So
it'll be on the podcast?
Yeah.
Or, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll just call you and I'll tell you, hey, I'm going to start recording.
I need to get one of those voice changer apps for my phone. I sound like Darth Vader.
I think they're pretty easy to download, so you can do it.
I wish I would have thought of it. I'd download it now. Instead, I just got this really squeaky chair.
So beyond and besides the Kickstarter we're about to launch, and any of the Darkslinger things you've done, your other stuff, where can people find that and purchase it?
Oh, good question. Where can people find my stuff?
Do you have any shows coming up?
I have a website. So
okay.
Website is TonyMorganStudio.com.
Okay.
Just like it sounds.
And I'll put it in the show notes too so that people can find it.
Okay, cool. That's got all the prints and stuff. I don't think we have any books on there because we were doing... we need to do like a digital version. Multnomah County Library has some of them.
Okay.
The one show?
What's that?
The one show?
Oh, yeah. I do the one show every year, the big motorcycle show.
And when is that?
That is in February.
In February?
First week in February.
Okay, where is it going to be at?
They've been doing it at the Pickle Factory, which is off Columbia there.
Is it literally a pickle factory?
The what?
Is it literally a pickle factory? Is
it
that
says
just
the Pickle Factory on the side. It used to be a pickle factory, apparently.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they actually put big letter in it. There's some kind of industrial, some kind of manufacturing thing in there.
Huh.
That's what it is. But it's a big warehouse, and yeah, it's a pretty big show.
What sort of stuff are you going to be showing when you go there?
More motorcycle related stuff, prints and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we do that show every year. What else?
There any other shows coming up?
Just website,
Facebook and Instagram.
Website, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay.
Gunbaby75 on Instagram.
Gunbaby75 on Instagram. Okay.
And Facebook is just my name.
Okay. Do you have a fan page as well, or is it just your?
I do, and they keep telling me I need to draw more people to it or something. I don't know. I keep getting these notifications.
Facebook sends those even if you've had like 100 likes that week or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just something that it's set up to do
Elsa's the only
because
person who's liked it because
they want you to pay for it. Oh, I'm not even a fan on there?
No, because I had one, and then they told me that it wasn't mine, and I wrote to them, I'm like, it literally has a picture of me on the page, and it has my address on the page, and I'm the one that set it up, and they're like, that's not yours, you can't claim it. So it was some weird thing. It was just bots. I wasn't talking to humans, I was talking to bots. So anyway, so they removed it, and so then they're like, hey, do you want to set up a page? And I was like, yeah, I do.
You set up a fan page imitating yourself?
I don't know.
Wow, that's weird.
Something got confused in the, Facebook.
How long ago was that?
I don't know, 6 months.
Okay. Okay, because I know...
I have a new one, though, and I haven't got around to saying
2 or 3 years ago, the company that owned Twilight went around flagging everything that used the word vampire on Facebook.
Flagging it?
Yeah. So I had to go through all this stuff to prove that I had the rights
were a real
to...
vampire?
Yes, that as well. Because, there is that picture of me from Free Comic Book Day where I'm eating Rachel's baby with the vampire teeth in. Yeah. But, so that should prove I'm a vampire right there. Because I'm eating a baby fur,
Maybe you didn't have enough glitter on.
Maybe not. But in any case, all the Chronicles of Von Helsing stuff, I had to prove I had the rights to post.
Weird.
Because they flagged it and were all like, oh, this is related to Twilight somehow. Da, da, da. And they're invading our copyright. And it's like, okay, motherfuckers, you don't own trademark or copyright on vampire.
Yeah.
That existed long before you.
Right.
I mean, like, maybe you can trademark glittery vampire. Maybe that'll work for you.
You can have that one. Yeah.
And just
vampires and baseball.
For the sake of saying it, if you've never read the Chronicles of Von Helsing, it is nothing like Twilight. So...
You're like, we really are trying not to imitate you at all.
That's right.
Don't want anybody to confuse the two of us.
There isn't even a single vampire in high school in the whole series. So, none at all.
Amazing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on tonight, Tony.
Yeah, thanks for,
Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No.
Okay. All right, so watch for the Chronicles Von Helsing Kickstarter. It's Chronicles Von Helsing Blood Will Out. It's going to begin on October 31st, and if you pledge on that day, we're going to give you a trick-or-treat bonus of 5 trading cards. If this airs for some reason after that, or you're just listening to it after that, go over to the Kickstarter, pledge. You can get original art, a copy of Chronicles Von Helsing #1. If you just want to read it and don't really care about having something physical, you can get a digital edition. There's going to be a lot of original art available in it. If we hit our stretch goals, there's going to be a limited edition print, going to be a t-shirt. I think that's about it. This is Adam Watson. Thanks for being on, Tony. Thank you for listening.